Number 7, problem-solving endurance. Think about the last time you came across a difficult problem, and instead of Googling or asking AI, you took the time, struggled, and worked through it. For most people, that experience is getting rarer because the tools we have are easily accessible, available, and extremely capable, so it just feels more logical and efficient to use it. But that's like having a cheat sheet at all times. You're not taking the time to think analytically and endure the struggle, but choosing to offload it. Dr. Gloria Mark has spent over 2 decades studying attention in digital environments. In 2004, the average person spent around 2.5 minutes on a screen task before switching. By 2024, that had dropped to 47 seconds. That's a significant deterioration of how tolerant we've become on cognitive resistance, on doing the hard things before we reach for some sort of relief. And real problem solving and innovation requires what researchers call productive struggle, a sustained period of confusion and effort that generates new neural connections and actual skill development. When technology makes it trivially easy to skip that discomfort, the brain adapts by expecting the shortcut. Attention spans and problem solving endurance are skills that are diminishing slowly as technology and AI becomes assimilated in our lives. Number 6, handwriting and learning. When you take notes by typing, you can transcribe almost everything a speaker says. That sounds like an advantage. It's actually the problem. A study found that students who typed their notes performed significantly worse on conceptual questions than those who wrote by hand, even when both groups studied from their notes afterward. Typing too fast lets you copy without processing. Handwriting forces you to compress, rephrase, and prioritize. That friction is the mechanism. Your brain has to understand the material to simplify and shrink it. Another study recorded brain activity in 36 students writing and typing the same words. Handwriting produced connectivity across parietal and central brain regions, which are the patterns associated with memory encoding and learning. Typing produced minimal activity in those same areas, and it's simply because handwriting requires fine motor control, visual spatial processing, and language systems simultaneously, generating a richer and more distinctive memory trace than pressing keys. So if you are learning something new, use a notebook instead of a laptop. Number 5, spatial navigation. You've probably driven somewhere 100 times and still needed GPS to get there. That's exactly what happens when you stop using a skill. Navigation is handled by a part of your brain called the hippocampus, which builds mental maps by tracking landmarks, intersections, and the general awareness of where you are. When you constantly offload navigation to the GPS, your brain learned nothing about how you got there. It didn't get familiar with the street names nor the buildings. In a way, you're essentially blindly following directions. It's actually an amazing technology not having any fear or anxiety of getting lost. But studies have shown that people who used GPS more had worse spatial memory over time. And GPS caused the decline, not poor navigators reaching for GPS out of necessity, which makes sense. The hippocampus works like a muscle, and just like muscles, if you don't use it, you lose it. Number 4, spelling abilities. What if I told you that we are collectively losing our abilities to correctly spell words? Well, it's true. A survey in the United Kingdom found that 2/3 of adults who use spell check regularly could not correctly spell the word necessary. 1 in 3 couldn't spell definitely. These are not obscure words. These are words people type in emails and messages every single day. The skill didn't disappear. It just stopped being practiced. And it's not that shocking considering we have built-in checkers that not only underline it in red, but also autocorrect it. Autocorrect removes the correction signal that spelling needs to improve. When you misspell a word and catch it yourself, your brain registers the error. When the tool fixes it without you noticing, no error was registered, so you keep making the same mistake, completely unaware you are making any mistakes at all. As spelling fluency drops, writers catch fewer of those errors on their own too. A research showed that poor spelling physically interrupts the act of writing. When you pause mid sentence to second guess a word, it breaks the flow of whatever idea you were constructing. Autocorrect prevents breaking that flow state, but ultimately it inadvertently weakens your ability to spell. I'd say that's a worthwhile trade off. Number three, boredom tolerance. Before smartphones and social media, boredom was unavoidable. You sat somewhere with nothing to do, and eventually your brain started doing something on its own, thinking about a problem you hadn't solved, replaying a conversation, reviewing a mistake you made. Scientists call that wandering state the default mode network. You probably know it as daydreaming or shower thoughts, because those are the rare moments you're not feeding your brain external input. Your unconscious mind finally gets the room and space to process, surfacing unexpected connections and creative, innovative solutions that just wouldn't be possible when you're actively engaged and stimulated. Today, that space barely exists. Every quiet moment where nothing is happening, people instinctively reach for their phones to fill the gap, mindlessly consuming content and never giving the brain a break. Researchers found that frequent social media use blocks people from reaching what they called profound boredom, the deep, restless state that drives people toward new interests and pursuits. Scrolling relieves surface boredom, feeding the endless cycle of dopamine. Your best and most creative ideas will come from the boredom you keep avoiding. Embrace the boredom without any external stimuli or distractions. You might just be the next Steve Jobs or Elon Musk. Number two, reading emotions. In 2014, researchers at UCLA sent a group of sixth graders to an outdoor camp for 5 days with no phones, no TV, and nothing with a screen, while another group stayed home and kept their usual devices. When both groups were tested on reading emotions from facial expressions and social cues, the camp kids outperformed the home group by a significant margin. They'd received no social skills training. They had simply spent 5 days talking to each other without a screen in between. Reading emotions is a practice skill that is developed through face to face interactions. Seeing someone's face shift, noticing a change in their voice, and picking up on posture is something that technology and screens strip out. Text has no tone. Emojis are rough cartoon interpretation of human expressions. Filters distort and transform your perception. Video calls cut peripheral vision. And every year spent socializing primarily through a screen is a year practicing a much narrower version of human communication. Kids who grow up this way are not a different species or a less capable generation. They are people who didn't get enough practice at what used to be commonly experienced and developed over time. The problem is we have designed an entire social environment that almost never requires it. Number one, the quality of presence. Leaving your phone turned off and face down on a desk while you work feels like the responsible choice. You're not scrolling or checking notifications. You may even put it somewhere further or in your bag where it's completely out of sight. But researchers studying the brain discovered that just having your phone within the same room reduces your working memory and cognitive abilities. It's simply because it takes effort and energy for your brain to suppress the urge to check it. And that effort comes directly out of the same cognitive resources you need for everything else. Phones are engineered to feel urgent. And that low level sense that something might be happening doesn't switch off when you put the phone away. Most people are completely unaware that they carry that feeling into every conversation, every meeting, and every attempt at focus. What's crazy is that it's actually normalized in society today. You'll see people at dinner checking between bites, checking between every set at the gym and in social events while actively having conversations. The result is a constant background tax on your cognitive resources, which ultimately reduces the quality of presence in everything you do. You think you're being disciplined, but unbeknownst to you, part of your mind is thinking about it. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe to see more.